Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm about to tell a story, so open your ears, shut the fuck up, and sit down. We're going Little House on the Prairie rules, speak when spoken to. The fact this is pre-recorded, don't ever assume I'm speaking to you, and just remain quiet. Alright, now that we've got that down, let's move on. When I was 7 or 8 years old, I was in, I guess it was first or second grade, that makes sense, and it was recess time, and as per usual with recess, we would always play football, and it wouldn't make any sense. We had a huge field in the back of our elementary school, but in between the field and the school was a giant blacktop parking lot, and for some reason the teachers would say, you can't play football on the field, you have to play on this blacktop parking lot, which didn't make any goddamn sense. It just augmented injuries to the max. It was ridiculous how many people got hurt. It was like a real fucking NFL game every day. It was like, Jesus, Jenny broke her kneecap again, God, she's gonna be out for a few games, that kind of shit. And one of the days, we were playing, and me and my friend, Kenton at the time, we would always like to see who could kick the ball further. You know, when someone would do like the Charlie Brown style kickoff, you know, we didn't actually know what we were doing. We would just have someone hold it with their one finger and then run up and kick it and see how far you could do it. And of course, it was fun. And so one of the times we were kicking, kind of just messing around in between plays, because it's not really strict. It's kids, you know, you do whatever you want. And he kicked it, he kicked a bomb, just boom, just went crazy far, further than I'd ever seen any of us kick it. And so, you know, back in the day, like if I were at my age right now watching a kid kick that, I'd be like, man, that was pretty far. But I mean, I could probably throw it further. But at the time, it was like he had launched it like the fucking Sputnik rocket. Like, it was crazy. And because he kicked it so far, the rule was like, all right, since we're competing, you have to go get the ball because I kicked it further than you. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. So I start jogging, and unfortunately, it went so far and it hit and it rolled that it started to go down a hill. And by the hill was this kind of shed, and I couldn't see where the ball went past the shed because of how it rolled down. And so I was just sprinting, trying to get the ball, and I run past the shed. And as I'm running past the shed, you know in those scary movies when you're running through somewhere, and out of nowhere you think the character's safe, and they like turn around, and then they turn back around, and it's like there's an arm reaching around the side and grabs their arm and like shakes them, and it's like, what are you doing? It just kind of, it shocks you. That's exactly what happened. I was running, and as I passed the corner of the shed, to turn around and go down the hill, a hand grabbed out and reached for me. It didn't like grab me like a scary movie, but it did reach for me, and it startled the shit out of me. And it was a kid in my class, and he just had this look of horror, just a horrific look of terror and embarrassment, and just from looking at this kid. And at this age, at the age of 7 or 8, you don't understand, you know, much social cues, or you don't get nuance. And so for me as a young kid to perceive just the patent signs of trauma on this kid's face, this little boy's face, it must have been ridiculous, you know? And so this kid was looking like someone just murdered his goddamn parents. And so I ask, what's wrong? Not so much because I cared, but because, you know, I was in passing, I was going to get a ball. I wanted to be polite. And not even, you know, I was expecting, even then, even at the age of 7 or 8, when you ask someone how they're doing, you don't expect them to say, oh, you know, here's my problems. You expect them to say good. Like, even at that age, you expect them just to conform to social norms and say, I'm fine. But this kid just straight up said, I pooped my pants. And at this point, I had asked the flippant, how you doing, and then turned around and started walking to get the ball, and I heard that, and it was like someone had just, like bopped me in the side of the head, like, boxed my ears, and I just froze. I was like, you pooped your pants? And I didn't know what to say. It was funny because he pooped his pants, and because, you know, we were 7 or 8, and you shouldn't be doing that at that point, but at the same time, it was like a sense of pity. It was like, oh my god, like, what would I do if I'd pooped my pants? Like, Jesus, I'd probably be hiding behind a shed too. And so I didn't know what advice to offer. I was like, why don't you go inside? And he said, I don't want to go inside. People are going to see me. Can you go up and get toilet paper out of the bathroom? And I was like, oh my god, this is turning into a whole endeavor now. I'm supposed to get this ball and go back and play. And of course, like that kind of request, a tiny little request to a kid at recess, that's like your girlfriend asking you to go get her tires, you know, changed and everything on your day off so that she can go shopping with her friends or something. It was just like, wait, what the fuck? I'm doing my own thing here, man. I'm trying to get this ball and go have another further kick contest. Busy shit here. But of course, because I was nice, even back then, I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I walk up, and the way that our teachers were posted up and watched recess, they would stand at the top of the stairs right in front of the school and kind of overlook it like they were an Egyptian slave driver watching people build the pyramids or some shit. And it was really weird because they never really got involved in anything. Even when kids would get hurt, they would like let the kids come to them. And so I went up there, and I just was going to try and walk right by and say I had to go to the bathroom. But this lady was, I guess, feeling a little bit bitchy and said, you can't go in. You can't go in. No, you can't go in. You can't go in until recess is over. If you go in before recess is over, you have to stay in. And of course, I didn't know this was a rule. I was like, what the heck? What? Like, I can't talk back to a teacher at that age. That's suicide. You can't talk back. Of course not. I knew that. So I suddenly just was kind of panicky. I'm like, oh shit, like I'm not even the one who has shit in my pants right now, and I'm panicking on behalf of this guy. Lord knows I'm not going to walk in there, sacrifice my recess to get toilet paper, because even if I did, I couldn't come back out here and get this guy toilet paper. And then I'd have to explain why I'm carrying a roll of toilet paper, or either that or have a big fat pocket stuffed full of toilet paper. Lord knows how 7 and 8 year olds use that shit. They clog up the toilets all the goddamn time. And so I just decided, all right, the next logical conclusion as a young boy is to find large leaves in the woods. And so I ran back to the kid. At this point, I'd already taken the ball back to the person we were having the kicking contest with, and they were doing their whole game and shit again. And so I go back to this kid, and I told him the whole story, told him, you know, it was a no-go on the TP sitch, and that we were going to have to find some leaves. And so he was kind of standing there in that awkward, I pooped my pants, and it's in my underwear, but I don't want it to leak down the sides of my legs or some shit. And so he asked me to collect some leaves. So I did, and don't give me shit for what you're about to hear, because I know exactly what poison ivy looks like. I know what it looks like, and I can tell you 100%, and they're not even like poison ivy, that's not like even a big leaf that you could wipe your ass with, like, you know, unless it's a giant poison ivy leaf, but I know what poison ivy looks like. So I knew, even at the time, because my grandparents had a farm, my friends had a farm that we'd always go out there and play, I knew what poison ivy looked like. And so I went out, I picked up a bunch of leaves that weren't poison ivy, guaranteed, brought them back to the kid, and then I left, because I didn't want to sit there and, like, watch this kid do his thing. And at this point, recess was already almost fucking over. Pretty much pissed the whole thing away, because for a kid, that's like a huge insurmountable obstacle, like finding leaves for a kid to wipe his ass with. Because at first, like, they start bringing him back dead leaves, and then the dead leaves are crackling in his hands, they get shit all over his hands, like, well, bring me live leaves, and it's like, okay, Jesus, okay, Lord of the shitting in the woods, okay, princess. And so I brought him back. Moral of the story is, apparently this kid must have been allergic to something that I brought him, because he apparently had an itchy asshole and wasn't there at school the next day. And that's it. And so the moral of this story is that sometimes when you're a little kid and you think that you're doing your friend a favor, not even a friend, an acquaintance a favor, by being a sneaky little kid and trying to circumvent the adults and find a solution to a problem to try and spare their embarrassment or your own embarrassment, it may just be better to go whisper something in the teacher's ear and inform them. You know, there's a little bit of info for you. That whole issue could have been circumvented. But I'm glad it wasn't, because it made for a video right now, and I'm going to make money off it. And that kid's probably traumatized, you know. So, anywho, that's the end, and I love you.